Hi everyone, welcome back to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann. This is the second part of my conversation with Siobhan Strode. The first part obviously was more about her journey and being a business and all the challenges entailed, and now we're talking more about speaking up and how that works and telling your story. Thanks for coming back, Siobhan.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Yes, like we haven't just seen each other for the last 40 minutes.
Yes, good point. Yeah,
It's
sorry.
the pretend world of podcasting.
Very early in the morning, Nicole.
Oh no, don't worry. I think we just dive in.
Cool.
So, what's the advice you would give someone who wants to speak up?
So the first thing that we talk about in this Sister Speaks is basically you need to be really clear in your values. So and I'm not talking about like a brand values exercise where, you know, in 2019, 2020, you had like a list of words and you like tick them and then pass it on to your brand person and be like, these are the 5 things, you know, fun, friendly, cool, whatever. I'm talking like being really clear on what you stand for, what you believe in, who you work with and why, like get really deep in those, journal on it, watch videos about brands and actually what matters, listen to Simon Sinek. Is one of the only men I would ever tell anybody to watch a podcast, TED talk about. But get really clear on what those things are, because when you're grounded in your values, you can then tell your story, you can go and speak on a stage, you can be in a debate or on a panel, and you don't, like, no one's going to rock those foundations of yours because you are really clear in what you stand for. So that's the first kind of module in this Sister Speaks. So yeah, that's my advice for people who want to speak up, is just like, don't start randomly speaking about something that you don't feel really confident or secure in. Like, seek out help if if you're feeling a bit wobbly about something. Without plugging my work, like, you can come and book a speak up session. They're like 45 minutes. Or you can, look through other people's content or look at other people who are speaking up and see how they're doing it. And you can kind of mimic that in your own way. But you really need to be clear in your values, because it's really obvious when someone's virtue signaling, for want of a better word, when someone's not really grounded. And yeah, speak up on things that really matter to you. Like, if, rehoming dogs is really important to you, like, talk about that. Don't suddenly be like, oh, I'm going to talk about trans rights. Those are important, but if that's not something that you're really confident in, by all means amplify other voices, but you speak up on things that you give a shit about. That's what I would say. Is like, just be really ground into that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know why I caveated that. That's something I tell people not to do. Shut up, Siobhan.
I know, but it's so easy to tell others and then, do it yourself is a different thing. It's a lifelong thing of being conditioned, right?
Yes.
In a certain way.
Damn you, patriarchy.
In terms of speaking up, if you've been quiet the whole time, should you then literally just shout out, or is there a way where you kind of should ease in? What's your suggestion or advice on that?
So my suggestion for that would be probably social media based, but doing a post like, who am I? What do I do? Why do I do it? Because your business, generally, you're doing it for a really good reason. You haven't just set up your business for shits and giggles. Nobody wants to work 40 hours a week in something that they don't enjoy. That's why we set up our own businesses, right? And so, like, why do you do what you do? What's your spiel, Nicole?
No, you put me on the spot.
No, you know this shit.
Well, it is basically similar to what you do, like helping people to show up and be themselves and not try to, be a version that they think they have to be, and that they are enough, and that they don't need to be Kate Moss or whatever to have their photos taken, and they can actually show up confidently the way they are, and feel good about it, and not hide.
And those people go out, and there's a ripple effect from that, because people are showing up as themselves and they're feeling confident, and then they go into their work and they shine in that respect. And then those people are then setting an example for other people, like, oh, she looks like that and she can still show up. And that's not a negative. I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like, that's kind of, yeah, exactly like I said, like, our work's really aligned. But I would start, if you are thinking I want to start speaking up about issues, talking about the things that matter to you in like a social media post, like a carousel, like, hey, I'm Siobhan and these are the things I care about. I care about raising boys as feminists. I care about being a good ally. I care about the people and the planet. I will always put people and the planet before profit. Like, you know, those kind of things, or, and, you know, fuck Israel or whatever. I would have a carousel about those kind of things. And you can be as controversial as you like, because what you're doing by speaking up about your values is you're saying to people, these people who align with these are who I want to work with. And the people who don't, they're not my people. And sometimes that feels a bit scary. We talked about in the previous episode of like, you know, you want to work with everybody when you start out your business. So you're like, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to rock the boat. But actually, we need to rock the boat. That is what's one of my key messaging points is, I'm here to rock the boat. I'm here to help you do that. I don't want the status quo to be as it, I don't want the world to be as it is. Look at what they're doing to the planet and to people. Like Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Macron, Netanyahu. Excuse my French, but they're all mega cunts and they shouldn't be leading the world. We need women, non-binary folk to be running the world and it will be a better place. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in a small, you know, minute way, is helping people speak up in their businesses, but also like in organizations, and rock the fucking boat, because that is, if we're all like, oh yes, I'm really sorry, do you mind, I'm really sorry, do you mind if I just tell you about my business, or oh, do you mind, actually I don't think there should be a genocide. We're doing all these things and in a really quiet voice, nothing's going to change. And I think it's really difficult as women, because we like you were saying earlier, we've been conditioned to be these good girls and to be nice to everybody. And I, you know, I've had lots of conversations recently about being nice, and how I fucking hate that word. And I am not a nice person. I am a kind person, but I am cunty. I'm cunty but kind, and I'm just going to own it now. Like yeah, that is a thing. And I really want people to be more
More
themselves and just
cunty.
more cunty. I want people to, you could be cuntier. There's a little soundbite on Instagram for that.
Yes.
Which I've used a couple of times. But yeah, I really feel we are so fucking nice all the time, and we're so worried about treading on people's toes. Don't get me wrong, I sometimes fall into this. I'll go on LinkedIn and, oh, I've got nothing to say. But look, Sophie Lee's said it already, or Amy Keen's said it already. Like, you know, but at the same time, you're fucking Siobhan Strode. Say something. Be
Yeah.
loud. And you don't have to be loud to speak up. I think that's really key to say as well. Introverts are very capable of speaking up. It's just a matter of that confidence and having the courage to do it, and knowing that you've got cheerleaders, you've got a sisterhood behind you. No one's coming for you. Like, I think that's the key thing to say. Speaking up about an issue you care about. If you get trolled, that's a projection from their part. They're usually really sad little losers behind a keyboard.
And it also means that you're actually doing something right,
Yeah,
because you are disrupting someone and you're, you know, just saying as it is, and someone doesn't like it. That means you're actually showing up. And
and the
also,
patriarchy doesn't like that.
yeah, exactly. But also what you said, oh, if someone else already said it, why should I say it again? I'm just repeating stuff. But it's like, well, that's a group thing. That's a protest. Like, one person showing up is not a protest. That's just a random person standing on the street. But then if everyone else says the same thing and there's 1,000 of you, that's more powerful. So it's, again, like you
Exactly.
said, it's kind of amplifying each other, but also saying, I agree with this. And here's actually my take on it, you know, and not just like repost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I am definitely guilty of doing the repost thing, particularly on
Same here.
LinkedIn. Even though I'm really loud and very confident on Instagram, like LinkedIn is the place where I'm trying to grow my confidence. You know, I stood on a stage in front of 5,000 people and talked about domestic abuse, and I ran for parliament, and I'm not a wallflower. I think it's very safe to say. But there are some moments where I'm like, I don't feel that confidence. But I think sometimes it's a matter of where you're hanging out and I'm filling my LinkedIn with people who are aligned with me, as opposed to like a load of banker wankers I went to school with. Sorry, people I went to school with, you won't listen to this anyway, so that's fine. But yeah, I think showing up in like a little way, like a carousel post or a little reel about things you love. It could just be photos of things that you love, or, you know, protests you've been to, or yeah, it doesn't have to be this big, scary, horrible thing. It could just be a little thing is what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me personally, I'm not really vocal online about stuff. I have conversations a lot in private. That's where I'm more comfortable. Probably also the way I was brought up. We weren't really political in the household. I mean, I'm from East Germany, so my parents literally grew up not saying anything against the government because there was trouble. But it's just not a comfortable space for me, and it's not the space where I want to share those kind of things. But I'm always talking, even with clients on shoots, or with people networking and co-working. People I know, we always talk about current things going on, Gaza, Trump and all those kind of things. Back when it was Brexit, obviously that was a big theme because I'm German, so a lot of people kept apologizing to me. It's like, you're not the problem because you're apologizing. It's what you're comfortable with, and if you want to be loud about it, then just fucking do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like political with a capital P. It can be things that just matter to you. For example, showing solidarity with your gay friends, or the way it might be really subtle things like the way that you have more photos of like rainbow stuff on your grid, for example, so that you're making your space a safe space for being an ally for those people, or the fact that you took photos of on a like trans pride march, or that you went along to a march for Palestine and like there's a subtle photo someone's wearing a keffiyeh. It doesn't have to be like subtle in the background, and I have to be really wary of that because I'm when I do this Sister Speaks, I have a range of people join, and they some of them have speaking experience, some of them have no speaking experience, some of them they've done podcasts, some of them have done Instagram lives, but some of them have done nothing, and some of them are introverts, some of them are loud. And it's all about meeting people where they're at and what's their next steps going to be. So I had to be really wary of the fact that not everyone is like me. Like, I'm really political. I was brought up in a really political household. And it's like like my dad's was Irish, so it's very like I grew up being politicized. Like, fuck it, living in England. Also, my dad couldn't rent when he first moved to London because it was no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So they had my mum's got an English surname, despite some Irish heritage. She's Edwards, so they had to rent everything in her name. But again, awkward because she was a woman in the 70s, and so it was a very weird, like, you couldn't get credit until the late 70s. But that politicized me. My mum refused to marry my dad because she was a feminist, and she married him like when I was kind of 5. Yeah, really odd upbringing. Very different. And I've always been really political, talking at school about politics or getting ranty at teachers, and social justice is like a key theme in my life, for like trauma reasons. But I've always been like really obsessed with making sure things are right, from bullying through to Gaza. Like I'm obsessed. So, and I think that's a neurodivergent thing as well.
Yeah, I remember I've like stood up to teachers because I felt like other people were unfairly treated, or even myself. And I remember my teacher even said, "Calm down, you're getting really red." Like my whole kind of
Yes, that's what
because I
happens
got
to
so
me.
into it.
I get really red and rashy when I
Yeah,
get passionate.
yeah, yeah. Without even like, I didn't shout at her. I just like literally stood my point. I was like, I'm not backing down because I know what you've done is wrong.
We're like the
So
same person, Nicole, at school. Like, same.
minus the kids.
Yeah, like I'm like total flashback to like secondary school and like
Yeah.
having a go at a teacher because my dyslexic friend couldn't keep up with the transcribing, and we were doing a Latin translation of Ovid or something, and the teacher was shit, and he just stood at the front. I think he was standing. I called him Piggy because he looked like Piggy from Lord of the Flies. Dr. Wakefield is an asshole. Now I just remember I literally just stood up. Like, so and so can't keep up with the speed you're going at. You need to slow down. You can't expect him to keep up. He's dyslexic. And the teacher basically just like, get out of my classroom. And I was about, I don't know, half a foot taller than him. And I was like, no. Luckily, I didn't escalate any further. I stood my ground, made him speak slower, and then I got a detention. So I'd forgotten
Yeah.
about that until you said that.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like, school, again, conditions you to be just a little fish in a big pond rather
Yeah.
than, standing up and speaking out. You should always function and stay in your lane kind of thing. In terms of, telling your story, how would you advise people to tell their story?
Yeah, I mean, we've just done a classic there, haven't we? We've both
Yeah.
just told stories from our childhood, which kind of really demonstrate our values as people and how we do things. So take heed from that, I think, is a great thing. There's loads of different stories you can tell within your business, and you are already doing it naturally on a daily basis, whether it's talking to your kids or talking to your next door neighbour or talking to the person in the shop. You naturally humans are natural storytellers. And I think when we hear the word storytelling, we all go, oh my God. So there's like different stories we can tell. So I wrote a few down so I didn't forget any, but there's like origin story and like where you came from, who you are, how you got here, the events that shaped you, for example. And you don't have to have rags to riches story to be to be interesting. Just where you grew up and people finding out a little bit more about you, or the fact that you talked about East Germany earlier, that's an interesting fact. I love German history. I find it really fascinating, like Weimar government, all that stuff, but that's because I'm a nerd. And I love visiting Berlin. And anyway, so those kind of stories, little quirky things that other people wouldn't have experienced. So talking about where you came from, the struggles, and remembering not to be perfect as well. Like, we don't have to be perfect to show up. Other things you can talk about, what you care about, your pets, things that happen. You don't have to talk about your kids. I know there are some brilliant Liz Mosley talks about this. She doesn't really share much about her kids, but like, little things about like what happened at a birthday party you were at, or those kind of things, little personal things that show your values. I think they're really key for storytelling. Who you help. So there's storytelling in terms of case studies and clients you've worked with. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You do that brilliantly with your brand kind of photography. And you've obviously got an easier way of doing it because you've got beautiful photos to show from it. But like, even me with my I've been working on someone's sales page this week. So-and-so came to me feeling like this, blah, 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 about the sales page. And they came away feeling like this. Da, 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 da. That's storytelling. Like, we don't call it that, but it is. That is a kind of storytelling. And real people, when you talk about those people that you've worked with, other people see themselves in that kind of way, and they can put themselves in the story. And then what you really do kind of stuff like I think it was Alex Catoni talked about this. I watched a video ages ago that she was talking about this. Like there's your elevator pitch. There's the actually, what do you do? Mine being, I'm a mentor for change makers or disruptors. But actually, what do? I help people raise their voice and lead the change. I grow people's confidence and courage to speak up so that they can then go and create that ripple effect I was talking about earlier. That's another way of storytelling. There's loads of different things, but women need to speak up and tell their story. And historically, we've been so squashed down and hidden, and we've had our stories erased. It's really important that women tell their story and don't feel like they have to conform. I really want women to be more confident and courageous in that way.
I love that. It's a perfect ending to this conversation. The one thing left to say is basically that obviously this is called work in progress. So do you want to share your work in progress with us? Where can people get in touch with you? Is there anything you're currently working on, a new program, or is a new round happening soon?
Yeah, so This Sister Speaks is just wrapped up. Just got the one-to-ones to do now. But yeah, the next round will be in the autumn. So the wait list is open. You can be the first to hear. And we'll put that in the show notes if anybody wants to join that. And you'll get my Power of Words email. That's like feminist inspiration, feminist killjoy rants, and the occasional tip for showing up. And the work in progress is the website. So siobhanstrode.com is very imminent, so it should be out, I think, by the time this goes out. Yes, I'm really just excited to kind of actually promote that, because I've not had a website for over a month. So it's been a bit of a weird, where do I send people? Yeah, so yeah,
It's a little bit like you're homeless then, right? Isn't it?
It does feel like that. I'm sofa surfing or something. Like, yeah, I hang out on Instagram. I'm trying to hang out on LinkedIn more. But yeah, come hang out. And if you want any support, just reach out. Like, slide into my DMs, leave me a voice note, and come hang out with me and Nicole online.
Brilliant. Thank you, Siobhan. I really appreciate it. I loved our talk, or both talks actually. And for everyone else listening, thank you for tuning in. And I talk to you next week. Thanks, Siobhan.
Thank you.